Hi there, it's Liz Yule from Old Stables Crafts again, and we're on day 2 of our 12 tags of Christmas, and this is the tag that we're going to be making today. So this uses a piece of cherry cobbler cardstock, which is 2 inches by 4 or 5 by 10 centimetres. A piece of gold, it can be a scrap, I just happen to have this strip, but so long as it is 2.5 by 1 3/4 inches or 6 by 4.5 centimetres, then that will be large enough. And then a scrap of Whisper White, which needs to be at least 2.5 by 1 3/4 again, so 6 by 4.5 centimetres. Then we will need the Emerald Envy and the Cherry Cobbler Stampin' Up markers, gold ribbon that we used yesterday, and the Presents and Pine Cones washi tape. We'll actually be using this one, and then various punches, which I will talk about when we get to them. And again, we're using the Here's to Cheers stamp set. Today we're using the Wishing You a Scrumptious Christmas Season, so ideal if you're gifting food. So let's clear the decks a bit and get started. So first things first, let's make the tag. So we're using the scallop topper tag punch again, and because we've cut the cardstock 2 inches wide, it slips straight in, down, and there we have the basics of our tag. Then the Project Life corner rounder, and as ever I seem to do it from the back. I think it just gives me the confidence that it's properly into the punch properly. So there's our basic tag, and then I've chosen this washi tape because it happens to fit exactly through the hole at the top of the tag. And then if you line your tag up on your grid paper, you can then also line up your washi tape so that you know it's straight. Press it down, rip your end off, and then as you pull this up, you can either cut the ends off or just tuck them under. I'm going to just tuck them under for the moment. And that's our basic tag. So then for the sentiment, say Whisper White cardstock and the scrumptious stamp from the Here's to Cheers stamp set. And then we're going to have the middle of the tag in Emerald Envy. As you can see, I've put scrumptious in Emerald Envy, and then the outside in Cherry Cobbler. So the way to do this, you'll know that there is a fine end at one end of the Stampin' Up marker and a paintbrush nib end at the other end, and it's this end we're going to use. But don't go in straight down, you want to go in from the side, so using the side of the marker. That way you protect the nib from damage, and you actually get a nice even finish of ink. And remember, this is the same ink that we use on our stamp pads, so it is just a good way of getting lots of colours. You can just get the markers and you get the colours that you want. And you can get them in colour families, or at the moment we've got some of them coming in duos, so it's worth looking at those and keeping an eye out for those, because then you can get a collection of markers without necessarily buying a whole set at once. So there we are, there's the scrumptious done. And then with the Cherry Cobbler. So I have not been very good about my baking this year. Last year I was well ahead, but this year I'm not. So I think I probably missed the opportunity for doing the Christmas cake and Christmas pudding and feeding them and letting them mature. Although my husband sent me a subtle hint yesterday by email, because we do seem to correspond by email rather a lot. it was a recipe for a sticky toffee flavoured Christmas cake, which I think might be a subtle hint that this year that's what he wants, particularly as it was headed for people who don't like Christmas cake. Right, so that's inked up. Now, because obviously the scrumptious was done a little while ago, to make sure that the ink hasn't dried on the stamp, we just breathe on it and then stamp in the usual way. And there we are. Get that cleaned off in a minute. So there it is. This is the classic label punch. So again, in from the back, make sure it is centered. Punch. And then whilst we've got this out, I'll take the gold foil and again punch one of these, and I'm going to show you a way of making it look like you've got two punches, one slightly bigger than the other. So what we're going to do, you'll notice here that I've got a bit of a border in the gold. So all you do for that is with your scissors cut straight across the middle. Doesn't need to be too accurate, and then follow the line. You've got these little bits sticking out here. Follow the line down here. Just take those little bits off on both sides and on both pieces. And then all we're going to do is line up like that. So on the back, and I would use fast fuse because we're sticking to foil, so gentle pressure, flick at the end, and then if you line up this, for want of a better word, corner with the indent there, it lines up just about right. That's that one, and then the same on the other one. So gentle flick, and then line up those corners, and as if by magic it lines up, and then just a couple of dimensionals on the back. In the middle, and then a piece of ribbon, and that can be whatever length you need it to be, and then through from the back. And this is just how I do it. I mean, you can just loop it through and then knot the top. I just think it looks pretty when you've got some of the gold showing on the front as well. And there we are. So there are our two scrumptious tags. So I hope you enjoyed that. As ever, the measurements will be in the associated blog post, and there'll be a link for that below. Also on the blog post will be the products that I've used. So if you'd like to buy any of those, please do nip over to my shop. There'll be a link for that below as well. If you want to see the remaining 12 tags of Christmas, so we've got 10 still to go, subscribe. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. And I hope to see you again very soon. Thanks a lot.